some more comments about extracurricular activities. I think the key is balance and commitment. What do I mean by balance? Again, colleges want to see that you are a well-rounded person. So if you're good at math and science, don't just join the math and science club at your school. Explore other things. Doing different things will ultimately make you a well-rounded and creative person. Secondly, by commitment, I mean that you should try to stay with something that you like for at least 2 or 3 years. Don't just join a club for a semester and then quit. Also, if possible, try to be a leader at a club. Anyone can be a member at a club, but it shows more if you are a leader. It tells colleges that you are committed and that you're able to handle responsibilities. For me personally, I wasn't extraordinarily involved in extracurricular activities, but here's what I did, just to give you a sense of what I did. I was involved again in the World Affairs Challenge for 3 years. I was the vice president of the science club at my school. I was the vice president of the Red Cross Club for 2 years at my school. I also took piano lessons for 4 years and took the piano examinations. I was on the speech and debate team for 2 years, and I did volunteer work for about 100 hours each year for 3 years. I would suggest you to explore different things early on in your high school career. So in your freshman year, go to introductory meetings. Even if you don't end up doing a lot of the things that you shopped or checked out in your freshman year, you will have some ideas in mind of what you could do later on in your high school. So, and also another point is that don't be afraid of the challenge of keeping up with your schoolwork and your extracurricular activities. I remember at one point in my junior year, I was really burnt out keeping up with my heavy coursework and my extracurricular activities. But a teacher at my school encouraged me, and she told me that if life in high school is hard, then life in third world country is probably 3 times harder. And here's a related comment. I want to talk about your summers now. Don't waste your summers. Your summers is the best chance for you to do things that you like, to explore yourself, to explore the world. Colleges want to see that you're not just passionate about learning or knowledge, but you're also passionate about the world, that you take the initiative to explore the world. So if you are passionate about the outdoors, maybe do an outdoors program. If you like to dance, do a dance program. If you like the sciences, you could contact local universities and ask them if they have research positions available for high school students. If you like to volunteer, call up the local hospitals and see if you could volunteer there. In the summer after my sophomore year, I was very fortunate and got a scholarship from a nonprofit organization called Summer Search. Summer Search is a nonprofit organization that gives financial aid to students throughout the United States to go on through challenging summer trips. And in the summer after my sophomore year, I had a scholarship to go to a hiking, canoeing volunteer trip in Colorado. The trip was very physically challenging. I had to carry a 50-pound backpack and hike up a steep hill. But that experience turns out to be very rewarding for me. It opens my eyes up to many things. And I'm so glad that I did it. In the summer after my junior year, again with the scholarship from the same organization, I had a chance to go to the Junior Statesman Summer School at Yale University and spend about 5 weeks there. I learned a lot about politics. I also took a class on constitutional law and a class on public speaking and debate. And the program was wonderful. I learned a lot about it. It definitely played an important role in my college application package. I even talked about it in my personal essay. However, the program was a bit expensive. It would have cost me $4,000 if I didn't have the scholarship from Summer Search. So if money is an issue, don't worry about it, because there are tons of opportunities out there for you. Again, if you're interested in politics, you could call the mayor or the senator in your district to see if there's any internship available for you. Or if you're into the arts, you could call up maybe the museum in your city to see if you can intern there. There are many opportunities opportunities there. You just need to find them. Also, I would recommend checking out the Career Center at your high school and see if you could find out anything that's available, that's appropriate for you. Usually, they have large volumes of summer opportunities in the nation for high school students, so definitely check that out. And also, I would encourage you to start looking for things maybe in the winter before your summer, because deadlines for summer programs tend to come in around February. So plan ahead and do the research earlier. So then my junior year came. In my junior year, I tried to keep up with my classes and my extracurricular activities. I started also taking some AP or advanced placement classes. Basically, advanced placement classes are college-level classes for high school students. They come in about 30 different subjects, from art history to European history, from Latin to environmental science, and so forth. At the end of the year, you would take a 3-hour-long advanced placement examination to test your understanding of the course material. You will be graded on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being roughly about an A. Colleges look favorably into students who take the challenge of taking AP examinations and do well on the tests. Why? Because it shows them that you were able to do college-level work. In my junior year, I took 4 AP classes, and in my senior year, I took 5 AP classes. And my advice to you is that you should definitely try to challenge yourself by taking AP classes, because besides from impressing colleges, you will also gain valuable skills, and you will get a better sense of what college classes are like. Another great thing about AP classes is that a lot of high schools in the United States gives extra points for AP classes. For example, if you take 4 regular classes and get A's on all 4 of them, you get a grade point average of a 4.0. But if you take 4 classes, and if 2 of them are AP classes, and if you get an A for all of the 4 classes, you get a 5.0 for 2 of those AP classes, and your average will turn out to be a 4.5, which is really neat. Furthermore, another idea about the APs is that if you feel that you have extra time and that your school doesn't offer a class that you really want to take, you can consider studying the course yourself and taking the examination in May. The idea is that you don't have to be enrolled in an official AP course in your high school to take the AP examination. For example, in my junior year, I studied psychology myself and took the AP psychology examination, and I did fine in that. It will show colleges that you are able to learn things on your own and that you take initiative to learn. But then again, don't feel pressure to do this. I know a lot of people at Harvard who did not do this and still got into Harvard just fine. So my senior year came. I continued to take challenging courses and try to balance that with my extracurricular activities. And then the college applications time came. I would suggest that in the summer before your senior year, you should browse through college catalogs broadly to find out what kind of colleges best suits you. Don't limit yourself to schools in your state or schools that are famous. Explore broadly, because the more you see, the better sense of what kind of colleges you want will be best for you. And I would also suggest you to check out liberal arts colleges also. Liberal arts colleges are smaller colleges that focus more on exposing students to different disciplines. Many educators nowadays argue that liberal arts colleges actually educate students better than many of the well-known schools. So definitely check those out. And in fact, the newly inaugurated president of Harvard, Drew Faust, was educated in the liberal arts college. Now I want to talk about the SATs. As many of you know, the SATs are standardized tests that assess students' ability to do well in college. There are 2 types of SATs. One, there's the SAT-1 and there's the SAT-2. The SAT-1 tests your ability to read, to write, and to do math. And the SAT-2s test your understanding and your proficiency of specific subjects, including chemistry, physics, US history, and etc. It is generally agreed that the SAT 1 is a bit more important than the SAT 2. So here's my advice on SAT 1. Key number 1, practice, practice, and practice. Practice makes perfect. I did a lot of practice tests months before my SATs, and the practice definitely helped me in doing well on my SATs. In terms of which practice book I would definitely recommend the College Board practice book, because the practice tests issued by the College Board are written by the same people who write the actual SAT test. So definitely check those out. And also, and the reason why you should do a lot of practice is that you want to find the strategy of doing well on the test that best fits you. Different people have different ways of doing well on the SATs. For example, I found out that for me, on the reading portion of the test, the best way for me to do well on the test is to read 1 or 2 paragraphs and then answer the questions that correspond to those 2 paragraphs immediately after I read the paragraphs. And after I'm done with the questions, I go on and read the other sections and then answer the questions corresponding those next sections. But then again, like, different people have different ways of tackling the SATs, and you really need to practice to find out what's your way to do well on the test. Secondly, for my second advice for you for the SAT is that for the critical reading part, the best preparation is to read a lot. There's no other way to substitute that. In the words of my favorite counselor in high school, read until your eyeballs fall out. When you read a lot, you gain the confidence and the stamina needed to do well on the reading portion of the SAT. If you don't like to read, then start reading a little bit each week and then increase that reading amount gradually. I've already talked about how to increase your reading habits and your reading abilities earlier. And I also try to memorize a couple hundred of vocabulary words. And some of the words that I study actually appear on the test, so that was helpful. Barron's, which is a popular test preparations company, claims that they have the most comprehensive list of vocabulary words available. I think they have something like 3,500 words. So if you have extra time in the summer or like over the weekends, you could consider studying and memorizing the vocabulary words. But then honestly, I think that if you read a lot of quality material and if you actively look up words that you don't know, your vocabulary will just be as good as memorizing words. In fact, gaining vocabulary from reading, it's better, I think, than simply memorizing vocabulary words, because that way you are able to incorporate the words in your writing better. And key number 3, for the essay portion of the test, one thing that I found very helpful for me was that the night before the test, I would review all my English class binders and notes and remind myself of all the literature works that I did in class, all the authors' names, the characters' names, and all the important themes that I had learned in my English class. Why? The point is that you only have 25 minutes on the essay portion of the test. So you really want to have a large reservoir of ideas fresh in your mind when you plan your essay. If you know what you want to say, your writing will come out very naturally. So I think it's arguments and the ideas that count the most in the essay portion. So don't worry so much about making your prose sound fancy or sound sophisticated. If you know what you want to say, you will be fine. But if you are one of those people who are not very good at writing smoothly, one suggestion I have for you is to write journal entries every day for about 10 minutes. I've once read an article written by an English professor that says people can tremendously improve their writing skills just simply by free writing consistently every day. Because when you do that, you will gain a lot of confidence and you will get used to writing with good sentence structure and sentence cohesion. And that is the core to good writing. And lastly, this really is more important than it may sound. You need to get a good night's sleep before the SAT. Why? Because your brain will have to work non-stop for 3 hours for the test, and you simply have to have a fully rested brain to do well on the test. Also, get a nutritious breakfast the day of the test. This is really important. A lot of people I know are so nervous about the test, they tend to neglect these things. You just cannot afford to be one of those people.